Hello everyone, welcome back. Szczepan Urbanowicz here with Go With The Flow, a global watercolour conversation. We're back again, this time with Group 20, Time Zone 20, and we have another series of fabulous artists, watercolour artists that we're going to share with you and the globe. So please can I'll just go straight to the list that we have. We have Gonzalo Vargas, Andres Achavar, Lana Privitera, Andy Evanson, Cesc Farré, and Angela Barbi, who is going to join us now. Angela will be hosting this group, so Angela, take it away.
Hello everyone, be very, very welcome, and thank you for this opportunity that you give to all artists all over the world, and especially to this wonderful group. If somebody needs a bit of translation, then Cesc or I can help you with the translation, and otherwise it's fine. So Cesc, where are you? We thought Cesc Farré, you all know Cesc. Cesc is another. He's from near Barcelona. He lives in Salamanca now, but we live very near each other, and his love is the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. But now he lives in Castilla, has huge skies, and so it's like the space of the sea. Now he uses the space of the skies. So go ahead and take your own time.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Szczepan, for your time. Nice to meet you for everyone. We haven't a lot of time. I try to show something with some works and explain about two ways. I think every artist, we have two ways. The way for the more personal with another way is the more commercial or for the students, etc. I try to show you something made in this quarantine and some themes. So I painted in Salamanca. I'm living right now, in this moment I'm living in the rural area. I'm far from my sea, and try to show you something about these new themes. After, of course, I would like to show the sea escapes or underwater escapes.
Yes, please.
I take. Yeah, I know you like very much, but I am some professional life. Same method with Andy. I'm an architect and I worked a lot with architectural illustration. A long time ago, I lose this way. I take only the watercolor things, but in this quarantine, I restarted to redraw or repaint themes that I made a lot of time. It's a new sensation for me. Restart my architectural university, and this is I would like to show you something about this. Take away. I try to show. I don't know exactly the quality.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Very
it's
good.
good.
Very good.
Yeah, we can see very
this
well.
This is a golf court. I like the old architecture and loose architecture. Okay, is very classical proposal, but for me it's important no lose these kinds of ways of watercolor things, but she working together with me all time. Another work of this kind of situations. Sorry for my. This is all charts. I try to.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Okay, this is not my sea. This is not the waves, the stones, etc. But I need sometimes recuperate my origin. Okay, and I would like to dedicate this next watercolor to Andy.
Wow.
This is
wow.
This is a nice farm, very near my house. I'm living between cows and farms, and it is very very interesting to find something like this. Okay, and I would like to show some sky. Um, the sky is my next actual sea. It's not. It's real. I don't know if you have. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Impressive.
This is very nearest of my house. I like the sky, the clouds, the sensibility of the every moment is different. Every moment is different. Okay, and we can go to the beach zone, with my last works. This is I try to show you. Okay, this is a cathedral's beach. Okay.
Galicia.
Yes, it's a very interesting place for visit. Okay, it's not a lot of noise. I don't like noise. I like just the skies and silence, etc. And the next, yes, this is
wow. Yeah, that's my kind of landscape.
Yes.
Go back a bit. Tira't enrere una mica, no al revés, no endavant, enrere. Una mica més. És que si no, no es veu.
Yes.
Okay. It's good?
No.
Perfect.
No,
okay.
It's perfect.
But it's the problem of the cameras.
Yeah, if you want to show detail, yes, you can show the detail.
Yes, the next watercolor, I try to show the detail, but it's smaller, but I think for the detail, it's better for you.
Yes, for detail is very, very good. Oh, okay. So good. This form.
Just some little places of Costa Brava, and foam and rocks are my favorite subjects, and I try to represent them all times. Okay, and for to end, I would like to show my last underwater. I have some underwater.
Listen, look at this. Don't you feel like you are in the middle of the sea, under?
Yes. The problem is, this is not easy to reproduce, and with photography, etc. You have a lot of sensual effects. It's not easy. And the last is the greatest. Maybe it's the first time. I don't know if it's possible to expose in. Sorry.
Wow.
Incredible. Wow.
That's fabulous.
But listen, where I live and where he used to live, we have the Costa Brava. Yes. And the sea is exactly like that. Because we don't have ocean, we have the sea.
Yes.
Sorry.
I think that it's important, every artist, obviously we have our themes, our subjects, but in this moment I am living in the rural area, in the very, very nice place near Salamanca, and it's not possible to find foam, rocks, and sea, etc. I prefer to find sky, coast,
whatever you have around you,
etc. Well, it's nice to share my little thing of work. Thanks for your time, and that's it all.
Well, listen, Cesc, you are fantastic because you're exactly on time. Only have 15 seconds to go. So excellent. Thank you so much, and we enjoyed watching your incredible works. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Farre.
So now we can talk to Lana Privitera. Lana Privitera Matich, she has names that you would think she's from Croatia, for example. but maybe she is. But she actually is from Spain, living in New York. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Today what I wanted to do was to show how I choose my compositions. That's the question I get the most from beginners and intermediate painters. So I'm gonna change my screen and I'm going to show you what I usually do. What I do is take 1,000 photos. Literally every single day that I start taking, I call my photo shoot, I take about 200 photos of the same subject. I might change a little bit, I might change the directions. In this case, I purposely took these photos to show my students. I wanted to do a workshop with them with blue ceramic because they were asking me for it, and they also wanted fruit, so this was the perfect subject. But purposely, I took photos at different times of the day to show the difference in light. For example, this one we can see doesn't have enough contrast. It has, it lacks a little of change of values. Then I have different. So let's say I took about 10 photos of this same subject from different sides, different light conditions, and then I went to my computer and chose the best ones. Here, for example, what I do too is I actually choose one part of the photo, one part of the other photo, and maybe something else from the other photo. So in here, for example, I don't like the light, but I like this glow here, the reflections in the dish here. I like this dish better because it's set back from the pear. I don't like the bottom part. So I like better this one. So I'm going to end up with a painting that has this dish, this pear, and this little saucer. And it's gonna have these reflections here on the bottom. So then I have also another trick, which is people wonder, say, oh, but how can you take those photos with the, with the light coming from the back? And, well, yeah, I take the photos, and what happens is you get all these ugly things behind them, right? I don't want to see these things. So what do? I take a black marker, and I...
just like that. So good. So clever.
Super simple. Super simple.
So clever.
I don't have to use Photoshop. I just don't know how to use it. I have it. I had it for 2 years. To me, this is it. Later, I might choose to change the background and make it, variegated things of colors, or I can leave it black. But I can also choose how high I want the black. I can make the marker lines, higher or lower. It's many changes. But see, if this helps me to see if my negative space is interesting and shows me if my contrasts are correct. So I love this way. I mean, that finally helps me immensely. And see, and I can choose, like I said, pear. Think how many photos I took that day. I took 250 photos just doing that. Hours in the computer to erase the bad ones, the best ones, crop them to the right size. For example, here, I like the way this looks here, but I don't like the way this looks here. So I will definitely change this things here if I decide to do this one. Or for example, this here, I might change also this part here. But what I mean is I don't copy one photo. I'm very lucky if I get one that I do. But most of the time it's a combination of several photos and that I take. Okay, and like I said, you gotta be very patient, and you have to take many photos, and then you'll see the difference. When I paint.
One question, Lana. You think about the composition first, right? Before taking the photo, you already think of the composition.
Actually, I can help it. My house is full of windows, and the sun keeps coming through the windows at all times of the day, right? And suddenly, I see this ray of light. I say, oh, he painted something. And then I say, oh, I got to paint something with that object. So I take that object, and I start setting up my props with that object. And then eventually, I come up with the perfect composition. Mm-hmm. Usually, I get the perfect one after 200 photos. That's what's happening. So the objects are first, the composition is second, actually. Let me just the last one here, for example, also helps me to decide. This is like giving you some cards, deck of cards here Okay, so here, this one, for example, too, also helps me to see if the contrast is interesting. This one, if I look here, I only have 3/4 of shadow, 1/4 of light. This one I have 2/3 of shadow, 1/3 of light. I think that's more interesting. But look at this. This egg is, the light is half and half. I don't like that. So I might change the position of the egg later. Look at this beautiful egg there. But I might change it slightly so it doesn't look half and half. This one has 2/3 and 1/3. That's better. I might move this forward. I might decide not to do this egg or put it behind it. So I change things all over the place. And also helps me to decide if I want it horizontal or vertical. I'll move this one to there, but anyway, you get the idea that definitely for me, with my eye, I have problems with vision. I cannot paint outdoors and I cannot paint for nature, for life. I need photos in order to see correctly. So this works for me and I hope it works for many people. So let me go back to my other screen and I'm going to now off my paint. Unless you have a question. Angela, you have any questions for me?
No, it's fine. Perfect. Thank you.
One of my, lately I've been painting mostly half sheets and full sheets. This is one that has been attracting a lot of attention lately. People seem to like this one. This one also is, because people's asking not a lot of blue setup ones. I mean,
Fabulous, fabulous.
say it again.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Oh, and look at this. Lively colors, lively colors.
That was a challenge. This was a fun one. These are gominolas. These are
Gominolas, yes.
Look at
What do you call them? In English?
gumdrops. Gumdrops.
Gumdrops. Gumdrops.
This was an old one. Just I wanted to test, skies in contrast, skies on different colors. This is another challenge. This was actually tissue paper too, with a lot of flowers. But anyway, so now let me show you something. These are the big ones that got me a little name. This guy.
Wow.
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 Fantastic.
Very nice.
Giant. Wow.
Wow.
Fabulous.
Very good.
This one was just to trick myself. I wanted to do it, so I had to. Even though Chris Krupinski said to me, "Don't do series of paintings," but I just wanted to do it. So I know.
Yes.
It was fun painting to do. It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle kind of thing. It was also another trick for myself. I just wanted to do it. In the old days, I used to do a lot of jigsaw puzzles, but now I don't have the time. So I use this as my little.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. So difficult. Beautiful.
The original photo, this spoon wasn't there, that spoon wasn't there. And they had a lot of stickers of orange and greens and things. So it was a choice to add that spoon. It was a choice to add that, change the colors everywhere.
Wow.
Ignore some of the things I saw, invent other shapes that were not there. And now this is my favorite painting. Why? Because
Wow.
I want to try someone this.
Oh, wow.
We
We also love it. We also love it. And listen, we are, I'm sorry that now the time has gone, but you're perfect with time. You're absolutely great. And we've learned so much. I think that everybody can benefit a lot from your experience and your tricks and that you share very often. Thank you for being so generous. So thanks a lot for your contribution. And listen, and Gonzalo is here, so I think that you can be the next one, ¿no, Gonzalo? Puedes ser el próximo porque ya estás aquí con nosotros, ¿no?
Muy bien. Thanks.
Thank you.
I am very happy. Thanks, Angela. Nice to see you. And
Yes.
I'm very, very happy to be in this chat and to be able to participate in this global conversation. Well, about me, I always like watercolor since I was 15 years.
Excuse me, I didn't introduce your name. You're Gonzalo Vargas from Chile, no?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. Okay. Well, I'm saying that I always like watercolor painting since I was 15 years. I started to practice, but then in my 20s or 30s, I get very discontinued in painting watercolor. But in a moment later, I think I feel the need to restart in a more serious way the painting of watercolor. And that was a good idea, I think now.
So you're happy?
Well, yes, it was a good decision. Now I dedicate an important percentage of time in the practice of watercolor. Also, I still maintain my activities as an architect.
Another architect.
Another architect, yes.
But
We are many in watercolor, I think.
Exactly. It's a surprise, but yes.
Yes. Well, in watercolor, I think there are many topics of interest, but are very interesting. But for me, a main topic is about personal growth in the practice of watercolor. The experimental work, investigation, all is about, I think, of originality. How to approach to the originality. That is not the same as a personal style. That personal style is more about the way that people recognize your the way of painting.
Yes.
But you think that?
Yes, I agree.
But
that's the personal style. But originality, you mean in topics, no? In choosing topics or how you present them.
Yes, originality, I think, is more about a process, a personal process in growing in your art, in your art, in your knowledge. Yes. It's about experiment, make knowing your materials, and also it has to do about maybe falling in love with some topic, or some special thing about your discoveries. Also, it has to do about intuition. Sometimes you feel that there is something a little bit closer that you have to reveal to get it go up. Then, as I say, I think that the personal work about taking photographs, like Lana chose recently, or looking for something in the composition, on the values, tonal values. It's a work that at last it results in what I could say is originality. You know? It's something that I think concern to each artist. It's a topic that is for all, that we love painting watercolor is very important.
But listen, Gonzalo, we have very little time. Can you show us your originality in your paintings? What you consider to be your originality?
Okay, I will show some works that I have.
And why
It's
you
about.
think they are original?
I'm not sure, but I think that is the process. More the process.
Okay.
Yes, I will show you some works about my house. I am very lucky to live in a country house, a beautiful country house, like Cesc, in a rural area, and it's wonderful for me at morning when I wake up. Plein air is for me is some steps from my bedroom. I go out there and I can paint plein air. Well,
Tienes
I
un
will
minuto
show
y medio,
you-
¿eh? You have
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have to.
Show you some.
Yes.
I will change the camera. Well, this is my study. You can look. Well, the window too.
Studio. Ah, yes.
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 You can
Rural
see
area.
something.
Beautiful.
Yes. And here I have many works that I made of my house.
Yes.
Some in different seasons of the year at different hours.
Yes.
Some ones are plein air, other ones are from photos. I have many studies about the house,
Yes.
and I think that in the when you know better the subject, then at last you can paint in a more beautiful
I agree.
way.
I agree. It's easier
Yes.
because the shapes and the things are already inside. Yes.
Yes, it's incredible how you improve your way in paint or understand the painting when it's more familiar to you.
Yes.
That is well.
Yes.
I have many other works, but I don't know.
Listen,
we are on time now.
actually, the time is now. The time has finished. But if we have a couple of minutes, maybe you prepare 2 paintings more. If we have the time at the end, maybe you can show 2 paintings more of other.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, but I don't know if we
Perfect.
have the time. But now I think we should move on to the next
Okay.
to our next guest.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Now we have Andres and Andy. Maybe shall we do Andres and Andy with it for the last? Is that okay with you, Andy?
I'm fine with whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So Andres, puede ser el siguiente. Can you be the next one and explain about your works or how you create or whatever you want to do? You are from Chile, or from where are you?
Okay.
Andrés, ¿de dónde eres?
So
Andrés,
hello
¿de dónde
everyone.
eres?
I am English or Spanish?
English better, please.
English. Okay, English much better. So I introduce myself. I am Andres Achavar. I'm from Santiago. I was born in Santiago, in the capital of Chile, but
Yes.
I was living in different places, like at the south of Chile, like Temuco City in the south, in the north of Chile, and in the Santiago too. But now I live in the desert of Chile, in the north of Chile, in the most driest desert of the world. The most driest desert. Yes, that place is beautiful because it's so quiet. It's time for relax. If you have time for take a if you have in the future take a visit in this area, it's beautiful because I live in the so close to the Andes mountain range. The Andes in the most highest highest volcanoes in this area. That place is inspiring to me because we have different wild animals, different places, altiplanic lagoons, llamas everywhere.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
Sounds,
it's beautiful.
sounds like the place to go when you're fully stressed. Then you go there,
Exactly.
no stress. You just paint.
Sorry, what?
When
So-
you are very stressed, you can go there and get rid of the stress.
Exactly. I choose that place. I was visit many times, but now I live in this area because you can find. In this case, I choose that place because I try to grow up myself, grow up my activities in the painting, and discover different areas, my feelings too, and every place have a different inspires to me. But so about the San Pedro is so in the north of Chile, and about me, I was painter about the water. I discovered the watercolor around 10 years ago, and I started and start my practice because when I was a child, I was make a different drawings. I draw my teachers, I draw in my classroom, and then I discovered different elements and I study about the art in Santiago, obviously. So
You
about
have
the
some,
technique.
can you show us some of your work?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Let me show what is my work. Mhm. Show. So that's it about my work and different places because I love traveler. That is in this case is in Venice.
Ah, yes,
You see that?
the fish market. The fish market.
Exactly, the fish market, right? That's right. And that is in the center in Santiago de Chile. Many people used in the play chess in this area, and many people watching who's the winner.
Lovely.
In 3 years ago, I was visited New York. I was meet Lana in this area. Probably you
Really?
remember that.
Ah,
Yes,
fantastic.
Yes.
Yes.
In different parts in the coast of Chile,
An
Valparaiso.
interior. Very beautiful.
Exactly. In the dinner, too, different restaurants. In the bars in Santiago, urban escapes. That place, probably Lana remember that because in this place I was meet Lana.
Ah.
In the Flatiron building.
Yeah.
In the that building is fine art of art in Santiago. National
This is
Museum
in
of Fine
Santiago.
Arts.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
National Museum of Fine Arts. In this, that is in particular because all that painting I painted in this area. I use in plein air for make that, and in this case I still I have presence in this march in Santiago. Many march. I many journalists, photographers, and a painter too. Painter in this area in live condition. New York City, New York too, and the court too.
Wow. How funny.
Different bars.
Very beautiful. Beautiful reflections. Oh,
Jazz time.
how great. Love it.
And that is particular because using many sketchbook for that and using that composition of the in my sketchbook, and behind that we have the scenario.
The real scene.
Like this, any sketchbook. Probably that is the final result or the final composition, or the first study for the last painting, or London too.
Yeah. Wonderful.
London, Bilbao.
Look at
I've been there.
Bilbao too.
Oh,
Probably you watch the flags.
Yes.
Madrid, Santiago. That is a urban scapes in another
Uh-huh.
in a top view.
Yeah.
So
Excellent. Listen, we loved watching your works and your creative process, and thank you for inspiring us about the desert in Chile. I must visit that. Really, I must visit that.
Yes.
Surely there are lots of stars.
I have a lot painted in this case. I have a lot painted in the desert. Probably I watch in the future. I probably watch in my Instagram too, or my Facebook profile. But
Okay.
so a little bit. One more thing about the technique, because I use it a little process, because we're always using the wet and wet, and then dry and wet, or the wet and dry, and the last result, I'm using different papers, because in this area we have a little bit paper, don't have a store in the desert, so
Yes.
probably using different papers, and that is important because the final result or the subject is important to me.
Yes.
Fabulous.
So that's
Thank
it.
you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you.
fabulous. Fabulous. You were
Perfect.
totally on time. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Andres. Thank you so much, Andres.
Thank you.
And now we would like to hear our last host, last but not least, that is Andy Evansen, dear friend. So you can now, oh, I love that tree behind you. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
So you can explain whatever you feel like. You're from the US.
Yes,
And-
I've lived my whole life in the upper Midwest of the U.S. I grew up in Wisconsin, and now I live in Minnesota, so it's basically Canada. I paint winter a lot. I love winter. If I didn't, I wouldn't live here.
Of
But
course.
I always miss it every year. I talk about that on social media a lot, how bittersweet the end of winter is all the time. I think it's such a beautiful season. I love to paint all seasons. We're really lucky up here that we get pretty much all the extremes. The summer is really hot and green, and then
Is it?
yeah, in fact, this week the humidity and everything is so lush and green right now with the amount of rain and heat and humidity. So you go from what you see behind me to all that, and then in between we have the beautiful colors of autumn and fall. So it really kind of tests your mettle as a landscape painter when you have to keep adjusting every few months and getting a new palette. But I like
Now that you had learned to do this, then it changed. After you
Exactly,
had
yeah.
learned to do something, but
Oh,
now it
getting
changed.
No, getting comfortable. Before I forget, by the way, thank you, Szczepan, for putting all this together.
No
I'm
worries.
just amazed at this. I have a tendency sometimes to complain a little bit about social media and how much it's taken over our lives, obviously. But and then you see something like this, bringing everybody together across the world, and this is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so fun to meet a lot of these artists that I had not heard of before or seen their work before. I'm just blown away at the amount of talent out there. I know it's 100 people that we've got on here. I'm sure there's many times more that we could have had on, talented watercolor artists. So, and it's just crazy how necessity is the mother of invention too. With all of us having to embrace the technology, I have to admit, Szczepan, when you said you could do this, I was just like, this could be an epic disaster, everybody trying to get on the internet and learn Zoom and with all the cameras and computers, but this is amazing.
But you didn't die. You
I'm
didn't
still
die.
holding my fingers
right?
crossed. I'm still holding my fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I hope
Go.
I'm into right? Yeah.
All good.
So, No, I'm really impressed not only with the artist's work, but the way that everybody's kind of rolling with the punches these days. And you know, it's a new world that we're all embracing, myself included, teaching virtually. And you know, I miss traveling and seeing my friends in person, but this is the next best thing. It's been pretty cool. So, I'm going to try and do a screen share real quick. I'll fly through it. I know time is short. But I get asked a lot, you know, how did your style develop? And when people hear, I'm not an architect. I'm a medical illustrator.
Better.
Well, there are a lot of architects. Yeah. But I'm a medical illustrator, and I get asked a lot, you know, what is medical illustration? And it did kind of play a role in how I began my career. So I was just going to talk about that just a little bit. Can you see that all right on your screen?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, yeah.
Great, great.
My artsy life. So this is a picture of Frank Netter. He's one of the most famous, kind of the original
Netter, yes, yes.
And you know, people that are going to be doctors and going to medical school, they all have this atlas of human anatomy. And I get asked, you know, people always say, well, why don't they just use photographs for the images? But you know, you can see from an illustration like this how much more informative it is and clear and everything. So I got hired by a wonderful friend here in Minneapolis after taking illustration courses at the University of Minnesota, and kind of learned medical illustration at her studio. And then once my wife and I started having kids, I decided to go freelance. And we're lucky here in Minnesota. The Mayo Clinic is here, and there are a lot of medical device companies. But, you know, most of the medical illustration I do is for medical device companies where they're trying to show how their work is, you know, how their products work, you know, implants and all this stuff. It's a fascinating field. But when I was going to school, I was using instruments like this, you know, airbrush and pen and charcoal and everything. And that wasn't too long before it was this, you know, the computer. So I wanted to get into watercolor painting just as a relief and to have art materials in my hands again. And this was kind of my first art book. The late great Charles Reed passed away very sadly, but this was when my love of watercolor started, when I saw his work. And so I decided to start painting. And I'm going to show a couple examples of some earlier watercolors of mine here. I knew how I wanted to paint. I wanted to paint loosely because the medical illustrations were so tight and, you know, they had to be so accurate. I didn't want to get into that. But you can see I was using photographs, you know, when I was early days of painting. And this is many years ago, these paintings. And they're not horrible, but the colors are a little embarrassing to look at now. And I kept hearing about the importance of getting outside and painting, but I just wasn't comfortable, you know, when you put yourself out there, people are watching, and, you know, painting from photographs is hard enough. Painting from life is really difficult. But once I started doing that and teaching work classes of my own, I started to learn the importance of value over color. And these value studies, the color things that I show my students in my workshops all the time, have really made a difference in how they learn and are able to grasp big, simple shapes. I mean, these things just in black and white are plenty clear enough. There's enough information in them. And then you add color into the equation too. But I try to keep them as simple as possible. Just the white of the paper represents light, big middle value shape, and then use the darks for some details. And then they translate to color like this. In my classes, we do these things together, value study to color. And again, you know, before I got outside, the difference, those colors are ridiculous in my mind right now. Embarrassing that I'm showing all these old paintings to the world. But once I started getting outside, this is a painting I did from life in Laguna Beach. You can see the difference between, you know, the greens in there and the brown. Just everything is just way too saturated. But I started learning to paint not how the camera saw, but how I saw. So these are some plein air paintings that just a couple I've done, and just trying to keep things more simple and fluid and direct. Again, you know, watercolor is a medium that's kind of dominated by learning techniques. All these are just some examples that I pulled of watercolor technique books. You don't see that in a lot of other media. You know, watercolor, for whatever reason, everybody's trying to learn a quick technique or something to fix their paintings. I found this book, Watercolor Impressionists, and it had a lot of watercolor artists around the world. And I found some of my favorite painters in that book. Trevor Chamberlain, I bring his name up a lot. I knew how I wanted to paint always, and then I started seeing, powerful examples of some of these British watercolor artists like Trevor, and how they embraced, the combination of soft edges and hard edges and simplifying. It's a lot harder than it looks, simplifying. Everybody wants to have detail in their work. Ed Seago is another one, so lately, these are some more recent paintings. And again, compared to my earlier work, I just, just a lot stronger and cleaner and clearer. The colors make more sense. And I've been embracing, paintings or scenery around my home a lot more these days too. I'm going to stop sharing and just kind of hold up a couple other recent examples so you can see. So this is another winter scene that I did. Again, just not something earth-shattering, obviously, but a lone pine tree on a foggy day. There can be a lot of beauty in that. A lot of these I've shared on social media and stuff too. But the sky, I'm kind of embarrassed to hold up my sky after Cesc showed his. But
I love that.
great.
Yeah.
This is the view outside my window. We're really fortunate to live out in the country, and there's nothing. The Midwest is really flat. Oh, is that time's up? I heard a bit.
Yeah.
That's sorry.
Pretty much it.
I cannot stop it. Shut up. Shut up. It won't stop.
Stay home more.
Okay. Thank you.
I wish we had half an hour with each of you, but we don't. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again for such a great turnout with such a great group of watercolor artists. I'd like to personally thank you all for coming along. It's been a pleasure to talk with you over the last weeks and communicate about coming along and doing this. It's been a fantastic journey. We still have a few more groups to go, but can I first thank everyone here. Andres, Andy, Gonzalez, Lana, Cesc, and Angela. Thank you very much for putting and making this particular session very interesting and enjoyable. Thank you once again.
It was our honor. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Honor to meet you.
And I know that our audience out there is going to be really just watching all of these episodes with glee and just enthusiasm. So again, thank you. And as we all end these sessions, remember, go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Go with the flow.